Yo, what's up guys, it's King Sean here, back with another video, and in today's video, I will be bringing you guys my pre-preseason 53-man roster prediction. Our first preseason game is in 2 days on Friday, so I wanted to bring you guys my 53-man roster prediction. I will be covering each position group, obviously, also be discussing some position battles, camp competitions, like who will win the kicker competition, and who will end up being a wide receiver 5 and wide receiver 6 on this team. So, if you guys are new to the channel, leave a like down below, subscribe, turn on notifications. On the road to 3K subs, so if you could get me there, really appreciate it. And other than that, let's get straight into the video. Alright, so starting with the quarterbacks, and by the way, at the end of the video, I will be listing out how many players I have making the offense, defense, and special teams. So the quarterbacks, we're going to keep 3 quarterbacks. Those quarterbacks are going to be Sam Howell, Brissett, and Jake Fromm. Those are the 3 quarterbacks we have on our roster. Those are how many we're going to keep. Not much analysis to do there. I do wish we'd sign a quarterback to replace Jake Fromm, but it is what it is if we do or if we don't. So, yeah, those are the 3 quarterbacks we are going to keep. Next up, we have the running backs, and I have us keeping 4 running backs: Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, Chris Rodriguez, and Jarrett Patterson. Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson, those are the obvious ones. I'm really excited to see what Eric Bieniemy does with those two. I think Brian Robinson, he's going to have over 1,000 rushing yards this season. And Antonio Gibson, he's going to be used more like how he was used in college. Now with Eric Bieniemy as our offensive coordinator, he's going to have more of an opportunity to be a gadget guy with us. So, yeah. As for the other two, Chris Rodriguez, I feel like Chris Rodriguez is a lock. He's been doing very well this offseason so far, especially in camp. Early on in like rookie mini camp, and I'm pretty sure it was OTAs back in the spring. He wasn't doing great, but in mandatory minicamp and now in training camp, he's been doing much better. So I feel like Chris Rodriguez, he will make the roster. And I was debating if we should keep 3 or 4. I think we're gonna keep 4, and I think we're gonna keep Jarrett Patterson. I was debating him or Jonathan Williams. Obviously, prior years we've kept Jonathan Williams over Jarrett Patterson. But I think this year, this is the year where Jarrett Patterson finally makes the cut, makes the 53-man roster. If he doesn't, he's definitely going on the practice squad, but I still think he will make the 53-man roster. First off, he's a pretty good blocker. Jarrett Patterson's a pretty good blocker. And also, he's so small that defenses really can't tell where he is. He might be in one place and defenses can't tell he might be in another. They won't know where he is. So he's so small, he's so shifty. And that's what I love about Jarrett Patterson. So I think we're going to keep him, and I think these are the 4 running backs we are going to keep on our roster. Moving on to the wide receivers, and I'm not going to lie, the wide receiver position was probably the second hardest position to predict. Now, obviously, we have 4 locks at wide receiver right now. That's Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, De'Ami Brown. Those 4 guys automatically going to make the roster, right? No question about it. Now, the final 2 spots, and I think we're going to keep 6 wide receivers. The final 2 spots were very tough to predict because we have so many guys that could make those final 2 spots. We have Byron Pringle, Dax Mill, Casimir Allen, Mitchell Tisney, Bryson Tremaine. So we have a lot of spots, but the 2 guys I chose were Byron Pringle and Casimir Allen. I chose Byron Pringle for the first spot because he's been showing out in training camp. We signed him a week or 2 ago. I'm pretty sure it was a week ago, and he's been doing pretty solid in camp so far. He's been making big plays. I'm pretty sure he made like 1 or 2, maybe even 3 big plays last week. So Byron Pringle, he's been doing really good in training camp. He's been making big plays, and I think he's a former Chief, so which is probably the reason why we signed him. Former Chief, he has a connection with Eric Bieniemy. So probably the reason why we signed him. So I think he should make the roster as our wide receiver 5. As our wide receiver 5, most likely he has punt returning experience. I think kick returning as well, probably back in college. Or no, he has punt returning back in college and kick returning in the NFL. So, yeah. And then the final spot I have is keeping Casimir Allen. Now, our unofficial depth chart released, I think, 2 days ago, or either yesterday or 2 days ago. It has Dax Milne as our starting kick returner right now. So, I was kind of leaning toward putting Dax Milne instead of Casimir Allen for this final spot. But I still put Allen because I really like his potential. He's been showing out in training camp, not only at punt returner, kick returner as a return specialist, but actually on the field, involved with the offense. He's been getting jet sweeps. He's been catching passes over the middle. He's really like a gadget guy. He's small, so it's like you can do a bit with him. You can really do a bit with Cameron Allen. He's shifty, he's fast. So I really like Cameron Allen's potential. I think he'd be way better than Dax Milne. Dax Milne is a very safe guy. He won't fumble the ball on kick returns or punt returns, but he just doesn't do much with the ball. You know, he may get you like 5 yards, but that 5-10 yards, but that isn't much. We need somebody to get us more yards to create bigger plays on returns for us. So, and I think Cameron Allen can provide that for us. So, these are the 6 wide receivers I think we're gonna keep. Let me know down below who you guys think we're gonna keep at the receiver spot for a 53-man roster. All right, moving on to the tight ends. I was keeping 4. Those 4 are Logan Thomas, John Bates, Cole Turner, and Curtis Hodges. The tight end position was pretty easy to predict because we just don't have a lot of depth. I mean, right now, Logan Thomas is injured. Amari Rodgers, obviously, I'm pretty sure he tore his ACL and he's out for the season. So we just don't have a lot of depth. Cole Turner, he has been standing on a training camp, which I love to see. He stood out last year. He just didn't do much last year, but that's mainly because, I mean, Scott Turner, we just didn't use our tight ends last year at all. And we need to start doing that again this year. And I feel like we will now that we have Eric Bieniemy. Obviously, in case he used Travis Kelce to the max. So I feel like he will do that again with our tight ends. He will use them as much as he can, as much as possible as he's here in Washington. Logan Thomas, he actually was looking like his 2020 self in training camp from the reports I've heard, from what I've seen in videos. So he's been looking like himself. Unfortunately, he's suffered an injury. I'm pretty sure I think last Friday. So, and he's been out ever since in training camp with a calf strain. So hopefully he'll be ready by week 1. He's not going to play in Friday's preseason game, I don't think. So hopefully he's at least ready by week 1. It's because I have been hearing some good things about him. So that is a tight end position. I was debating if we should keep 3, but I feel like this was easier. It was easier to keep 4 since Logan Thomas is dealing with a calf strain right now and he's injured. So it was easier to keep 4 rather than 3. Okay, now onto the offensive line. And I said earlier that the wide receiver position was the second hardest position to predict. This was the hardest. Right here, this was the hardest. I kept 10 offensive line, 4 tackles, and then 6 interior O-line. I'll read off Leno, Cornelius Lucas, Wiley, Brandon Daniels. Those are the 4 tackles. And then Samuel Cosme, Chris Paul, Nick Gates, Sadiq Charles, Ricky Stromberg, and Tyler Larson. Now, I really wanted to put Mason Brooks on here. I really wanted to include him, but that would take the amount of offensive line we kept up to 11. I mean, that is way too many. That's a lot of offensive line, and we need space for other positions. So 11 is too many offensive line, so I couldn't include him on here. But if Mason Brooks doesn't make the roster, I'm 100% sure he's going to make the practice squad because he's been doing a fantastic job in training camp so far. He's looked really, really good. And hopefully we find a way for him to make the 53-man roster because right now, I mean, I'm just looking at it right now, and it just looks like all the guys I included right here, there's just no way they're not going to make the roster. There's just no way they're not going to make the roster. I feel like all these guys I included on here are going to make the roster. Maybe Sadiq Charles because he hasn't looked great in camp. So far, Chris Paul has looked better than him. So maybe we just let go of Charles and then Mason Brooks can make the roster. But we'll see. But like so far, all 10 of these guys I have on here, I feel like they are going to make the roster 100%. Well, maybe not 100%, maybe 90%. But that's still a good amount. That's still a good amount for them to make the roster. For them to make the roster really. So I just don't think there's a way that any of these guys don't make the roster. Unless one of these guys suffers a bad injury, then I just see no possible way that they won't make the roster. So, yeah. So that's it for the offensive line. Now we're flipping the script to the defense, starting with the defensive line. I was keeping 90 linemen: Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Efe Obada, James Smith-Williams, KJ Henry. Those are our defensive ends. And as for defensive tackles, I was keeping Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Fedarian Mathis, and John Ridgway. So I feel like this was also very easy to predict. James Smith Williams and Efe Abada kind of also act like two defensive tackles as well. They can both play. They can play DN and D tackles, so that's why I only felt the need to keep only 40 tackles because of the versatility on our defensive line. I'm really excited. This defensive line is top 5 in the league. Has the potential to be top 3, maybe even probably the best in the NFL. I mean, like 2-3 years ago, people were saying our D line was the best in the NFL. Unfortunately, Chase Young got injured. Our D line just wasn't living up to expectations back in 2021. But this past season, 2022, it looked really good. And now we're getting Chase Young back, 100% healthy, ready to go. He's feeling like himself again. So I expect big things, huge things out of this defensive line. The entire defense as well, but I'll get to that later. So I'm just expecting huge things out of the defensive line. I mean, Chase Young, Montez Sweat-Allen, Deron Payne. You don't draft four defensive linemen, 4 straight years in a row in the first round. Obviously, John Allen 2017, Payne 18, Sweat 19, and Young 2020 for no reason. You expect them to be the best defensive line in the league, to be at least top 3, at the very least top 3, maybe top 5. You expect them to be the best of the best. So I am really excited to see what this D line can do. This entire defense, like I said, in this upcoming season. So I'm really excited for that. And we have really good depth too. I mean, Efe Obada, James Smith Williams, when Chase Young was injured last season for like the majority of the season last year, well, all of the season besides the final 3 weeks, they played pretty solid in his place. They played really solid. I'm pretty sure combined they had like 6-7 sacks. So they played pretty good. We're adding KJ Henry too. I love his potential. I've been hearing some good things from him out of training camp. And then Phil Mathis obviously tore his ACL last year, well, week 1, so he didn't play at all. So this is technically his rookie season. So I expect a lot from Phidarian Mathis. We're gonna be running a lot of 5 D lineman sets out there this season, so that will include Phidarian Mathis. So I'm excited to see how he plays. And then John Ridgway, he's very good depth. He stepped up big time last year, so I really like Ridgway as well. So that is the defensive line. All right, now moving on to our linebacking core. And our linebackers, probably the weakest position. Well, not even probably, it is the weakest position on our defense. We only have really 4 that we're gonna keep. Those 4 are Jamin Davis, Cody Barton, Khaleke Hudson, and David Mayo. I mean, we just don't really use our linebackers, first of all. We really don't. We really only run out, because our base defense is 4-3, but we don't run the 4-3 at all. We only ran the 4-3 like 2 times last year. We are usually out there with only 2 linebackers, or on occasions when we have 5 D linemen on the field, or 5, I think, DBs, or 6 DBs on the field. We're only there with 1 linebacker. So we really don't use our linebackers at all, which is fine, because sometimes we're going to have a nickel guy on the field. Kim Curl plays in the box sometimes, so he'll technically count as an extra linebacker. So it's fine. We really don't use our linebackers. It would be nice if we were to sign one. The Eagles signed 2 linebackers the other day, Miles Jack and Zach Cunningham. So it would have been nice if we just brought in somebody on a visit. But it is what it is. I only have us keeping 4. Jamin Davis, he's been progressing nicely. Cody Barton, we'll see what he does. I've heard some good things about him from training camp. Khaleke Hudson as well, and David Mayo. It's just David Mayo. I mean, he's good in the run game, but when it comes in when it's the pass game, he's just not good. When he's on the field and the opposing team is passing the ball, you gotta pray, because David Mayo isn't covering anything out there. So those are the 4 linebackers I have us keeping, and moving on to the next position. All right, and finally we have the DB position. Now, ignore the mistake I made at the bottom right. That's supposed to say Butler, not Danny Johnson. That is Percy Butler in the bottom right. On the top right, it's Danny Johnson. So just ignore that mistake. But I have us keeping 9 defensive backs, 5 cornerbacks, and 4 safeties. Emmanuel Forbes, Benjamin St. Juste, Kendall Fuller, Jartavius Martin, Danny Johnson, Cameron Curl, Derek Forrest, Jeremy Reeves, and Percy Butler. So this is pretty obvious. This was pretty easy to predict. The final quarterback spot, kind of difficult, because we got guys like Danny Johnson, obviously haven't making the roster. Rashad Wildgoose, who has been given many opportunities in training camp so far. We have Tariq Castro-Fields and other guys that are fighting for that final cornerback spot. I think we keep 5, so they are fighting for the final cornerback spot. So I do have those 5 guys making the roster. I'm like super excited to see Jartavius Martin and Emmanuel Forbes play this Friday in preseason. I want to see what they got. Obviously, they've been playing really good so far. I've heard and seen good things out of them in training camp so far. So excited to see them. Kendall Fuller, Benjamin St-Juste, they're going to do their thing. They're really solid cornerbacks for us, especially Kendall Fuller. He's been very consistent for the past 3 years. And Benjamin St-Juste, when he's healthy, he's probably our team's best corner. So I really like Benjamin St-Juste. Obviously, Cam Curl, Derek Forrest, in my opinion at least, top 10 safety duo in the NFL. And then we have Jeremy Reaves and Percy Butler as our backup safeties. Obviously, Jeremy Reaves, he works on All-Pro Revo or Pro Bowl Revo. Obviously, he works on special teams. He's a pretty good backup safety as well. And Percy Butler, he's going to get way more opportunities this season. They've been using him in the 3 safety packages when we're out there with 3 safeties. He's been a 3rd safety, obviously behind Cam Curl and Derek Forrest. So he's going to get a lot. He's going to get more playing time this year, and I'm super excited to see that. I'm super excited with the amount of packages, the amount of sets we're going to roll out with our DBs. I mean, it's going to be tough because we have Emmanuel Forbes, who's automatic. I'm pretty sure he's a lock to get one of the starting outside cornerback positions. But then we have St-Juste and Fuller, who's going to get the other outside cornerback position. And then we have Jartavius Martin. He's probably going to be our starting slot or nickel. But then we also have Percy Butler, who can also play in the slot and nickel. So we just have so many guys. We have so much depth at corner. It's unbelievable. It's a good problem, basically. It's a good problem to have where we really don't know who's going to for sure start. We could project it, but we just don't know for sure. So we'll have to see week 1 what it looks like, what our starting defensive backs will look like. So it's a really good problem to have, and I love our cornerback depth. And then finally, obviously special teams. I mean, no analysis here really. Tressway as our punter, Joey Sly as our kicker, and Cameron Cheeseman as our long sniper. Obviously, it's a kicker competition in training camp right now between Michael Badgley and Joey Sly. But on our unofficial depth chart, it did say Joey Sly was our first kicker. Well, our first kicker, yeah, and then Michael Badgley was right behind him. And Joey Sly has been looking better in training camp. He's made all his kicks, really. I think Michael Badgley has only missed 1, and that was a 50-plus yarder. He nearly missed it, so we just need more consistency out of Joey Sly. If we can just get that, he's cool. He's cooked. And the interesting thing about Joey Sly is that he makes the hard kicks, but misses the easy ones. So we just need him to make those free throws, and if he can make more of those, we can start winning closer games, because we've had a lot of situations where our games have been way too close, and part of that is because of Joey Sly missing extra points, missing field goals. We just need him to be more consistent this year, and that's why I like how they signed Michael Badgley, because it'll push Joey Sly to be better. It'll push Joey Sly to be more consistent. So I do like that we signed Michael Badgley, but I still think Joey Sly will make the roster over him. And these are the final numbers. I was keeping 27 players on offense, 23 on defense, and 3 on special teams. So this is the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like down below, subscribe, turn on notifications, comment your thoughts on my 53-man roster predictions, and tell me what things you disagree with or what things you would change. And other than that, it's been King Sean, and I'm out. Peace.